project management office. Now, that's a vast topic. And later, when we're done, if anybody interested, this is my company's big business card. You know, the small business card versus the big card. In back, we have a framework, our framework around project management office. We essentially break project management office into 3 groups. We call it the essential components. And these are the core processes required for the tactical management and control of the projects in a fairly project-intense environment. Then our second areas are the advanced PMO functionalities. And these are shifting toward using greater intelligence, analytics, and toward longer-term value, looking project more as investments over time. And then finally is the strategic side of the PMO. It becomes value-driven, creating value for the organization in a long-term fashion with deeper alignments throughout processes. And there are many, many capabilities in a PMO. When we started mapping this out, we came up, I think this shows about 25. I'm sure if we sit back and think about it more, there could be more than this. Operational management. Operational management is, at the end of the day, about keeping the lights on. It is the services that you provide or the organization provides to itself to make sure it maintains its operational efficiency and being very effective at what it does. One of the best framework out there, for those of you interested, that came from IT. It's the ITEL framework. Information Technology, what is it for? Information Technology Library. Infrastructure Library, thank you very much. Infrastructure Library. And by the way, it's not only used for IT anymore. CERN, for example, the European body for the atomic study, recently applied ITEL to manage its buildings. So it is about service strategy. What kind of service do we want to provide to our stakeholders? It is about design. How do we design the most efficient processes that balances the decision-making, the effectiveness side of it, and making it work? The transition. If we design something, how do we make the organization adopt it? What is that transition strategy? Things just doesn't magically happen. The fact that you design it may not work. Operation. Now put it into practice. And then, of course, final piece is continuous improvement. ITEL, again, is a widely popular framework out there. And I think the latest version is 3.0 ITEL. Process improvement. Organizations functions through its processes. That's true for all organizations. And when we work with our clients, when we work with our constituents on processes, we look at 4 categories of processes. Management process, used for planning, decision support, governance. Operational process, managing the core of the business. Changing process for program project management. I recently actually gave a presentation to the Asset Management Society on on change management, not organization change management. Supporting processes that's enable all the other processes to work and functions in an organization. Number 8, organization change management. Organization change management deals with the topic of how do we make people, teams, in the organization work toward the common goals and manage the change through that effort. And from an organization change management perspective, there are the business processes, the organization restructure. We recently working with a client that's going through merger and acquisition, real merger and acquisition. They really want to make the acquisition work. They came up with 81 initiatives. And the funny thing is I started talking to the business owner of these initiatives. Half the initiatives they came up with are now my list of 81. So I'm thinking the actual list of initiatives is probably close to 250 to 200. And the 2 organizations that's merging are not very big. So I'm actually thinking for every man, child, woman, and cats on their staff, at least they're working on 1 or more initiatives. But organization change management is about making the business processes understandable to the people, At the next level, you start looking at the organization, looking at the structure of those organizations, focusing on the change navigation, how to create a roadmap for people to move from where they are today to where they need to be in the future. A deeper level is culture. A culture is a word that comes up very, very often in organization change, especially in mergers and acquisition, because the idea of merging two organizations requires a third culture or adopt one of the other cultures. And then last is coming up with a shared vision. And then the last piece of the processes, disciplines, is data visualization and decision support. The way we look at it is visual communication is more powerful than words. And I'm trying to go through this a little quicker because we have a lot of words and not a lot of visual, but I want to get through the concept. The idea is how to connect with people between what they see and the message trying to come across. In our firm, and most things we do, we try to be very visually pleasing, but more importantly is convey information in a chunkable fashion in which people can understand. So visual interpretation of information in form of simple but powerful diagrams, in terms of tables, in terms of charts, makes it more meaningful for the recipients. So that's one of our last, what we believe to be important, discipline of business execution. Okay? Let me pause here just to say we went through none of them pretty quickly because that was the most boring piece of the lecture, so I want to get to it. Any questions? Okay. So given what we talked about, the four major components, the values and the attitudes, the integrating processes, the core disciplines, and the important competencies, it could be a bit overwhelming. Right? For practical use, you're talking about many, many, many different factors, and it is still messy even though you put it into a proper framework. Also, business can't wait to figure everything else out before they need to do something. After all, usually business are already operational, they're quite happy and alive, they want to continue to make changes. So